Yes. Hello there, and welcome to another stream. It's a Monday on an absolutely crazy week. Lots of stuff to get into today. We've got the finale. Wait, no, sorry, not the finale. The finale of Gen V, which some of you care about. We've got the 5th episode of Loki Season 2, and we have the premiere of Invincible Season 2. Yeah, no, look, the voice is still a little screwed up. That's, full transparency. We're feeling much better. But the voice is still a little bit messed up, okay? So for today, and we've got, like I said, we've got some stuff that we want to talk about. I want to talk about the weekend. I want to just get into some of your questions, just talk about some of the nerdy stuff that's going on. But I also thought it would be kind of cool. It would be good if we reacted to this new crazy video, 44 minutes long, this video. I don't know if we're going to watch the whole thing, but I kind of want to watch and commentate on the whole damn thing. A massive video from Kinda Culty, and we've reacted to Culty stuff before in the past, and I think he's one of the best in the game, man. Does absolutely incredible videos, and I've been watching a few here and there, but to be completely honest, like there's so much going on with Marvel right now with regards to Secret Wars, Loki, Deadpool 3, a bunch of crazy leaks, and of course the MCU Reboot. That's a big topic of discussion. That's something that a lot of people are talking about. So I thought it would be kind of cool, man, to know how, or rather what, does he think about all of this new stuff? You know what I mean? Like, definitely Tay's one of the people that's in the know-how, definitely follows all of the scooping and leaking stuff. Sometimes he catches stuff that even I miss, and so I think it's really fun watching his videos and reacting to it. So that's kind of the main thing that we're going to do on stream today. But I will say, just for show notes purposes, a couple of different things. Tomorrow for Halloween, for the Nerdvengers stream, myself, Elisa, and Liam, we're all going to pop up in costume tomorrow. So if you're a Nerdvenger, try to come by tomorrow at 11. We're going to make an appearance in costume, and we're going to have kind of like a Halloween-themed spooky stream with you guys tomorrow. I think that'll be super cool, man. That'll be fun. So look out for that. Let me think. Other than that, we're going to do a watch party. Here's the thing, chat. If you guys can help me out, when does Invincible drop on Thursday? Does anybody have a specific time? And no? Yofi, thanks for the 5-man. Unity, have you been playing any Spider-Man 2? Sorry, I've been out of the loop a bit. No, it's all good, man. No, I don't have a PS5, so I'm not a PlayStation guy. I don't have a PlayStation, so no, I haven't been playing it. I'll dress up too, even though no one will see. Well, you could throw some photos in the Discord. I can go over different people's costume photos and everything on the Discord and all that too. Yeah, I think it'll be fun. Well, no, I know that Invincible Season 2 comes out this Thursday night. I just don't know what time. So if anybody in here does know, what up, Ryan? Hope you're doing well, bro. I 100%ed Spider-Man 2 yesterday morning. That's pretty sick. I've heard the game is good, but not necessarily like this masterpiece that everybody thought it was going to be. And I did hear it was a little bit light on content compared to some of the other ones. But who knows for sure. Did you like it, Trev? Did you have a good time with it? Did you watch Werewolf by Night in color? It was sick. Nah, man, I'm kind of not interested. I liked it in black and white, frankly. And I liked that special. I think I watched it a couple of times, actually, when it first came out, but I don't know if I really have the desire to watch it again in color. You know what I mean? We got to get you a PS5 so you can play Spider-Man 2. You absolutely love it. Where did you hear that nonsense? From the internet. It was Justin, man. Justin was telling me live. Damn you, Tommy Two-Tone. Okay. L take from those people. Spider-Man is insane. What? Is that true? Chillin'. says AMTP and SAG summoned lawyers to the table over the weekend. We might have a tentative agreement this weekend. Hoo-hoo! Nerd Adventures for life. Take my money. Hell yeah, bro. It does look pretty good. Hopefully that deal finishes up within the next couple of days, and then everybody gets back to work. And the main thing here is Deadpool 3. I mean, look, I want all the actors to get a fair deal and blah, blah, blah. I want everybody to be paid appropriately and blah, blah, blah. But let's be real. It's about Deadpool 3. We need Deadpool 3. I'm going to lose my voice again. We need Deadpool 3, man. So the actors, studios, you need to pay whatever you need to pay to get that shit done. 100%. Before we get into some of the other nerdy topics and start reacting to this video, there's probably a couple of different things we could talk about. And you're going to have to bear with me for just a second here. You're going to have to bear with me for just a second here because I have to talk about something that many of you guys are it's going to be over your head or you're not going to like it and you don't want to hear me talk about it. And it's like, oh, God, why is it? And it's not Warhammer. It's not Warhammer. It's the boxing match that happened on Saturday. I'll talk about the Panderverse for sure. Let me talk about the boxing first, though. This one's for me. The Panderverse is for y'all. Let me talk about the boxing, though. Oh, man. Was that an incredible fight. Maybe some of you guys saw this that follow me on Twitter, but I just had this feeling about Francis, man. And it kind of started when I saw him training with Mike Tyson. And, of course, some people say, oh, it's just super gimmicky or whatever. He's training with Mike Tyson. But I also just saw this kind of... I don't know, I just liked it. And I saw some of the videos where he was training with Tyson, and I was like, dude, I think Francis is taking this really, really seriously. And I think everybody's looking past him. And he might, I don't know, I just had this feeling. I was like, there could be something special going on here. It almost feels like a Rocky story in a lot of ways, right? And so if you were watching on Saturday, dude, I was trying to bet on Francis. I couldn't figure it out. And some people were saying it's not a Pennsylvania thing, but I tried multiple different accounts. We tried on making some accounts with Elisa. I couldn't get Stake to work. And I know Stake is apparently hopefully you can bet wherever, whenever. But the only thing that I could think was it had to be a Pennsylvania thing. Or something. Because dude, you cannot tell me that multiple different services, different apps, different ways to bet, they all won't have the fight show up? That's crazy. And if somebody, I'm not even, no joke whatsoever, if you understand what that is and why that happened, because it happened to me before with a exhibition fight. It was a Jake Paul fight years ago, or maybe a year ago. Stake doesn't work in the U.S. Jesus Christ. Anyway, the point is, I had a feeling about Francis. And I decided I was going to buy the fight, but I also want to put some money on it. Now, at the end of the day, it's good that I didn't end up getting that to work because they robbed him. And I still, to this day, think it's a robbery. I wanted to watch the fight again yesterday. I might watch it again maybe tonight or sometime soon. What a performance, though. What a performance. I mean, for him to come out there and not only just hang, but get the knockdown, I think land way more damaging strikes and just be an absolute problem for the greatest heavyweight of this generation. It was fantastic to see, man. I love fights. I love fighting. And wow, what a cool thing. I know a lot of people kind of looked past that matchup, and you can't really blame them because all these MMA guys can't really box or whatever. Apparently Francis had training in boxing before even MMA, so some of the instincts, the way he was catching the jab and slipping things, I was like, man, it's really good instinct that you can't necessarily coach, especially not in 6 months, right? So he has an instinct for the striking. And as a fan of good fights and of that kind of entertainment, oh my God, bro. I was buzzing off that shit. I thought it was so damn good. And then the following day, I watched so many videos, so many people breaking it down. And for MMA fans, I mean, I think the biggest W of all time and a huge L for the boxing community because they got their best dude got whooped up on in the heavyweight division. And like that's the thing. It's always the heavyweight champion of the world. It's the biggest thing and most prestigious title, right? I think Francis beat him up. And also, they rigged that shit, bro. Like, I'm sorry. I still, like, I know there's a punch differential there, but like, if there's not damage being done, I just don't see it. You know, to me, just as an outsider, not really knowing like boxing scoring, just the demeanor of the fighters and who was engaging, like Tyson looked like shit, dude. Like I seriously, no man alive can tell me that after watching that fight that Tyson Fury won, dude. He literally looked like a bitch getting whooped up on for like at least 7 of those rounds. You know, in my opinion. So, I don't know, man. It was crazy. It was crazy. And super fun. You know, I was super grateful that the event went on. Like, I know some people are getting triggered in chat and all that, but like, it's my opinion, motherfuckers. But yeah, I don't know. It was great though. Overall, even though that's how I feel, I think we could probably all agree that was a damn good fight. Way better than I thought it was going to be, and quite an enjoyable experience. So I just wanted to touch on that for those of you that watch that. Were there any cameos? Yeah, there were. There were some crazy cameos. They assembled the Avengers in a lot of ways, you know. Even freaking Kanye West showed up. They had like all these celebrities. Like, it was kind of a wild thing to witness, dude, because the Saudis, like, they obviously lost a lot of money on this shit. And I don't think they give a fuck. Like, they were just trying to, like, ball out. It was wild. Like, they balled out, bro. Like, that's some crazy balling. For sure. For sure. So, yeah, Undertaker, Vince McMahon. Like, dude, there were some cameos. So, you guys would have liked it, okay? All right, let me get to that one. Bryce. Usually I save soupies for the end, but we're kind of just chilling. Bryce says here, for the 7, I really appreciate it, man, says, do you think Terrence Howard will return as War Machine for at least a cameo in Secret Wars? Have you heard anything about that? No, I haven't heard anything about that. I wouldn't hate it, though. But, you know, look, the whole War Machine thing that they're doing right now is so weird. And you know, Secret Invasion, man. I almost tweeted this the other day. I'm trying to be a little less toxic because I'm a shill now. And I need to play nice with all these corporations and make shill checks on the back end. So I'm trying to be more chill. But I almost tweeted the other day, the MCU reboot is literally worth it just to erase Secret Invasion. Like, the more you think about Secret Invasion, the more, at least for me, the more fucking angry I get. I'm like, whoa, like, what the goofy-ass backwards bullshit was that? Oh, my God. And even the War Machine thing, like, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, I fucking hate it. Like, I just hate it, bro. So, when it comes to Terrence Howard and all that, I don't really know what to tell you. They're going to do some Armor Wars stuff, and they're going to do stuff with Rhodey, and I think they're going to bring Tony back into it as well. I mean, what do you guys think? Do you think they're going to be able to do justice to Rhodey now, especially after the Secret Invasion thing? I'm almost like, well, I guess we'll revisit that Rhodey thing after the reboot. Like, that's kind of how I'm feeling. So I wonder how y'all feel about that. Look, Spider-Man 2 is dope. I just hate how Sony did the release. But anyways, Nerd Adventures for life. Thanks, Justified. And then he went on to say here, but don't tell Kendall, it is super overrated. Wouldn't recommend it. Damn, okay. Rosie says, with a $10 holla, says, dude, you have to do the Defense of Ahsoka video. Went to a Halloween party Saturday night. Got back at 2 a.m. My best friend won't watch Disney Star Wars. I showed him the best moments, and he really liked it. Oh, that's cool, man. That's cool. Should I do the In Defense Of video? I guess I can. I have a big old Loki video coming out for you today where I spoil the ending completely. No, I mean, look, there's some crazy stuff. Look, y'all were here on Friday, right? So that one image popped up, and it's got Loki in a different kind of outfit, right? And if y'all were here on Friday, I saw that image. I was surprised. I was like, wow, that's out there. I wonder what I should say about this. Well, I did a whole big video talking about the end of Loki. We don't know how it's all going to go down 100%, but damn, there's some crazy stuff coming. And so look out for that in a video today. That's going to be really cool. And at some point, we've got to like talk. I'm going to probably have to do a follow-up video. When's the next Warhammer video? Hopefully soon, man. Hopefully soon. It's so crazy. I didn't plan on getting sick in this week, and I tried to just kind of rest a lot. But hopefully soon. So, okay. Okay, Panderverse. You guys want to talk about Panderverse? Everybody wants to talk about Panderverse. Let me ask you guys, how many of you guys actually got the Paramount Plus and you watched the Panderverse? How many of you guys did it? Put a 1 into the chat if you did it. Put a 1 into the chat. Did you do it? Wow, that's pretty successful for them. I can't wait to see the numbers. Okay, I want to see the numbers because we got a little Eagle song in the background. Let's go. I want to see the numbers just strictly from a business perspective, right? I'm pretty interested in how they were able to do this because it was a big push, I think, to get people on Paramount Plus, and they went for it for sure. And the marketing was very bold. I mean, at the end of the day, they went right at Kathy Kennedy. They went right at Disney, Bob Iger, all this stuff, the pandering and all that. I would argue the marketing for the Panderverse was way more like it made it seem more like it was really anti-woke and really anti-Hollywood, which like it definitely is that, but it's also on the other end of it. Like I think it is making a lot of fun of people that, cover that stuff, that just call everything woke. Like there's a lot of counter commentary within the special as well. But I think it's true to say that the marketing for it did kind of make it seem like it was really aggressively anti-woke and aggressively anti-Hollywood, right? I think for most people that have actually like watched South Park for a long, long time, and it was interesting because Elisa had not seen a lot of South Park. So we watched the Panderverse, and then I also went back and showed her some other ones. And like, we watched the Scientology one. How many of y'all remember the Scientology shit? Bro, when they did that episode, which I think was literally called Come Out of the Closet or some shit like that, right? I remember when they did that episode, bro, it was crazy. They got sued by everybody. And just like Disney is, I believe Disney is taking legal action against them right now. Back then, they got sued by the Church of Scientology. I believe they got sued by every actor that was in there. I actually don't know if R. Kelly sued them or not. Ironically, they kind of do the most charitable parody towards the R. Kelly character. But regardless of that, they got sued by everybody. Tom Cruise, Travolta, Church of Scientology, all these different organizations. And in fact, at the end of that episode, they make fun of it. They're self-referential. They talk about how, like, there's a scene at the end of that where they're like, I'm going to sue you. I'm going to sue you. Like all that sort of stuff, right? South Park, man, been at the edge of that whole like comedy, free speech, parody thing for a long, long time, right? For a long, long time. I will tell you, I think the Panderverse is actually pretty tame and pretty mild compared to a lot of other things that South Park has done. But I think the way it was marketed was genius. Like literally genius, because they got a lot of people to talk about this thing, and they got a lot of people that are very galvanized behind like they hate the culture war stuff, they hate Hollywood, they hate wokeness and all that sort of that group of people. They were able to tap into that energy pretty effectively. And I think they also were able to tap into a lot of people that kind of hate watch that stuff. Like, I don't know if we'll ever get the full like numbers and details on this, but sometimes I think about, certain channels that do stuff to incite people and that cover this, the woke stuff, which is so funny. It's like Cartman says at the end, like he's like, I think it's pretty lazy to just call everything woke as well, which is so true. I'm skipping ahead a little bit here on my thoughts, but that end scene with him and Kathleen Kennedy before they come back into the actual universe was actually strangely cathartic for me as a fan, and I felt like it was actually really smart the way they did that. You know what I mean? Like, for sure. But going back to the other thing, I always think about those channels, and I'm like, I wonder how many people are watching this out of support and how many people are hate watching this stuff. Because they get a huge, in my opinion, I think they get a large percentage of people that hate watch their stuff. That will, like, watch Critical Drinker or watch Nerd Erotic or watch one of these people and be, like, pissed the entire time and, like, just yelling at, whatever, hate watching it. So I think that South Park they were really fucking smart in the way they marketed the thing, and I can't wait to see the numbers. And at the end of the day, like, here's the thing. I think a lot of people, like, tell me if you've heard this one before. Thing happens, and both sides of the culture war appropriate it for their own personal narrative. Have you ever heard that before? I don't know if that's ever happened in the history of human beings on Twitter, but that's what happened, There's a bunch of people out there being like, oh, dude, owning the libs, owning Hollywood, owning woke, not realizing that by saying that and being very, like, vocal and excited about it, they're kind of the butt of the other joke that's in the show. And you have a bunch of people that are saying, like, you're the butt of the joke, and totally skipping past or neglecting the fact that a lot of the things that they've supported over the past couple of years are also the butt of the joke. The truth is, both sides kind of suck, dude. And I think South Park pretty brilliantly illustrates that. Now, I will say this. My hope is that this special does genuinely allow the conversation to shift a little bit. Because I think there's a lot of people out there that, like, can't accept that Hollywood is doing all this really lazy, really pandery stuff, and, like, they've sort of, like, I guess, warped their minds in a way where, like, they can't admit that in their minds. I feel like they can't admit that because it would give a W to this other side, right? But hopefully, my hope is that this special allows that conversation to happen a little bit more, because without throwing anybody under the bus or naming any names, I mean, guys, like, I talk to a lot of different creators out there, a lot of different YouTubers. Bro, we all know what it is. We know what's going on. And yeah, Hollywood's fucking lazy. They do all kinds of stupid shit, and they don't really care about a lot of these causes. And it is pandering. And some of it's like beyond pandering to, like, the point where you're like, what the hell is happening? And I do think a lot of that, like, kind of directly does come from Kathleen Kennedy. And sometimes comedy can allow us to break down these, like, really difficult conversations and be able to, like, make these points that we all maybe need to hear. And, going back to the end of the entire special, the cathartic conversation between Cartman and Kathleen Kennedy, when Cartman's like, where they're basically realizing that they've created each other, which I've said years ago, guys. I said years ago that the fandom menace is actually number one to blame for Kathleen Kennedy not being gone sooner. 100%. I heard that from some of the most reliable sources I ever talked to. They said, yeah, there was actually even a moment where maybe Frank Marshall was going to come in and Kathy and Frank were going to run Star Wars together, and they were going to kind of adjust things. But there was all this talk from Lucasfilm's perspective of the narrative, of the optics, of how that would make them look. And because Lucasfilm didn't want to look like they took the L, they kept Kathleen Kennedy around forever. And now Star Wars is, like, kind of fucking obliterated. You know what I mean? Like, I liked Ahsoka, but, like, let's be real. Like, the brand is kind of obliterated. And the fandom menace absolutely contributed to that. You know what I mean? And so it's this weird, like, Ouroboros of Kathleen Kennedy, toxic fans, Kathleen Kennedy, toxic fans. Now, at some point, an adult has to step into the fucking room and be like, hey, Kathleen Kennedy, maybe these people are being ridiculous, but we're the goddamn studio. We're the adult in the room. We can't be acting this way. At the end of the day, I still hold Lucasfilm more accountable than the fans. But it is absolutely true that they both contributed, you know? So, man, Panderverse was really cool. The reality is, and a lot of you guys, probably already triggered. In fact, let's just do a little test here. Throw a 1 into the chat if what I've said has just triggered you. Throw a little 1 into the chat. I'd love to know. Yeah, I think that the reality is the special's dope. It's brilliant. It's probably pretty safe too. But I mean, it's a brilliant piece of entertainment at the right time, which definitely made a cultural impact. I guess it kind of is yet to be determined what kind of an impact that'll make. How is that going to affect things moving forward? I would love to see just the studios come down to earth a little bit more. Because I've said this for a long time, I don't think Kathy is a bad person. I don't think she's doing this on purpose to try to destroy Star Wars, but it's lazy. And there's this great part in the special where they say, but instead of doing any actual work, I went to the Panderstone. And that is so true. The ultimate sin of Kathy and the ultimate sin of Lucasfilm is being creatively lazy and succumbing to corporatism. You know what I mean? So, in my opinion, of course, but it's damn, it is really fucking lazy. And we're at this spot now because it was lazy and they didn't do anything about it. And instead, they chose to sort of shelter themselves in self-righteousness. So it's bruh, there's a lot of blame to be handed out. But at the end of the day, as far as, South Park and those guys over there and Paramount Plus, and it's a brilliant play. Make it more fucking lame. I know. And I would love that. I mean, my ultimate hope would be I hope some of the humor can take the edge off of it a little bit. Maybe it'll make a change. Maybe we'll see. I mean, I think things are probably already changing for Marvel Studios in particular. I think things are already changing. But having said that, we're about to watch the Marvels this week. So, I mean, how much change, really, Put a chicken in and make it lame. I know, right? Look, at the end of the day, trust me, bro. I've talked to a lot of different people about that. There's truth in those jokes. There's truth in those jokes, for sure. So, all right, that's your Panderverse conversation. Okay? So again, sorry if you got triggered, but that's the take. That's what it is. My stonks! Yo, where is the Disney stock price at? I'm just curious because, dude, apparently it was under 80, and I was like, my God. Oh my God. It's barely under 80 right now. Almost up 1% so far in the trading day, but still, goddamn, dude, Disney, what a wild situation for Disney. I don't even know how they get out of it, to be honest with you. All right. You guys ready to react to some Kinda Culty? Should I set the stage a little bit for you on this one? Should we set the stage? Let me tell you. There's a lot going on right now for Marvel Studios. We've been talking a lot about this stuff in different videos. And it's whether it's the reboot, the rumors of New Earth, Secret Wars, what they're doing with Wanda, all these different things. There's a lot going on. And one of the things I wanted to do, I wanted to see what Culty was thinking about this and what kind of information and stuff that he has gathered. And I think it'll be cool. It'll be getting a different perspective. I'll, of course, pause the video and give my commentary and stuff like that. We'll see what you guys have to say. And if you've never watched Culty's videos, bro, he is literally one of the best in the game. He has a ton of videos. Go subscribe to his channel. Go watch his videos. Great stuff if you're trying to get super sweaty on the MCU. He's one of the best. So let's get into this, man. Let's get into this. Cool editing, cool intros. Culty! Oh my god, the voice. Yeah.
Yo, what up, everyone? Tay here. And today I want to talk about Avengers, Secret Wars, and Marvel Studios doing a soft reboot of the MCU. Because this has been a hot topic online lately, and I do firmly believe that this is what Marvel Studios...
Hang on, we have a very well-timed super chat from Kendall here, and I can't ignore it. Just want to say, I've been saying Wanda and Kang will reboot the MCU for like 3 months, but I got clowned. Nerd Avengers for life. It's true you've been saying that. I don't think I clowned you. If I did, I'm sorry. Much love, Kendall. Here we go.
Are going to do. Plus, we even have a little bit of recent news on this topic in the past few days that doesn't exactly confirm that Marvel Studios are planning to do a soft reboot, but definitely gives a big implication that this is what Kevin Feige is planning.
Oh, it's happening.
But before we get into everything, don't forget to check out some of the other recent
thumbnails.
videos if you missed them. We did one recently on Loki and some Deadpool 3 stuff, and then there's also the recent Scarlet Witch Young Avengers video. You should definitely check that out as well.
Cool.
And then, as always, make sure you watch until the end of the video because we do have a handful of super thanks to get to.
Yeah.
And don't forget that if you would like to leave a super thanks with a question or a comment that I will read and respond.
Some of y'all should go over and do that. Support the man, especially if you like the video, even while we're just reacting to it.
Respond to those at the end of the next video, and those are always greatly appreciated. But anyways, let's get into it.
Let's go! All new, all different cinematic universe.
Secret Wars.
Marvel supervillains are coming!
Secret Wars.
Can the Marvel superheroes stop them?
Okay, so before we get into how Marvel Studios could go about soft rebooting the MCU, first let's quickly go over how Marvel did a soft reboot of the Marvel Universe in the comics. Because I think how Marvel Studios goes about their reboot will probably be very similar to what Marvel did in the comics.
I concur.
Because just like we are expecting in the MCU with the Secret Wars movie, Marvel used Jonathan Hickman's big Secret Wars story in 2015 to do a soft reboot of the comics universe, which then became the all-new, all-different Marvel chapter.
Which was fucking terrible. I'm sorry, it was. Like, so many different reasons why, but mind-blowingly bad.
And I know a lot of you probably already know a lot of this stuff and how all of this went down in the comics. So for those of you that do, just bear with me for a moment because this is very pertinent to setting all of this up.
Yeah.
So what happened in the comics is Jonathan Hickman spent about 3 years building towards his Secret Wars event with Time Runs Out. Oh my God, and
the best 3 years in comics, man. The best 3 years in comics. Oh my God, to go back to those times and those days and those...
Incursion saga. And the Incursion saga was all about how the incursions were slowly leading to the death and destruction of the entire multiverse. So by the time we got to Secret Wars issue number 1, this big multiversal war took place between
Michael
the
Phantom, that would be
616
crazy.
and Ultimate Universe, which ended with the final incursion destroying what remained of the multiverse. And then from there, the rest of the Secret Wars story occurred within Battleworld.
Ooh.
And how Battleworld was created is actually very important to how Marvel later rebooted the Marvel Multiverse.
Yeah.
Because a little while before this multiversal war took place between the Ultimate and 616 universe, Doctor Doom, Doctor Strange, and Molecule Man had teamed up on their own mission to find those who were responsible for the incursions, which turned out to be the Beyonders, who were a race of godlike multiversal entities that had the power to create their own universes. And so by using the power of Molecule Man, Doctor Doom was a...
Just real quick, because I know some of you guys might bring this up. There've been like a lot of crazy retcons over the past couple of years with the cosmic order of things. And there are actually two competing ideas of what happened with the multiverse. I think one of the more recent ones is that the Celestials actually created the Beyonders. And the Celestials did this so that the Beyonders could step in if there was ever another conflict between the Celestials, because that would destroy the entirety of the multiverse. So, like, in this version, at the time when we were all reading Hickman's stuff, it was explained that the Beyonders were the ones that created. They were the highest of the hierarchy. But now there's so many other things that are kind of in play. A lot of stuff that's been done by Al Ewing in the cosmic side of Marvel. So just want to point that out.
Able to trick the Beyonders and then steal their powers, which he then used to create a singular new reality. And this reality became Battleworld, which Doctor Doom then ruled over as its God Emperor Doom.
Oh, shit was so dope.
And as I know most of you know, in the comics, Battleworld was a patchwork reality that was constructed from the broken fragments of different universes throughout the multiverse, and thus it contained thousands of multiversal heroes and villains, most of whom had no memory of what their lives were actually like.
So cool. What a cool concept.
However, if we go back to the 616 universe just before this final incursion occurred, a small group of 616 heroes managed to escape this final incursion in a multiversal life raft that had been constructed by Reed Richards and the Future Foundation. So after this final incursion hit, these heroes were able to escape, but then they all ended up blacking out only to wake up on Battleworld 8 years later with no memory of how they got there. And this group of 616 characters included Reed Richards, Black Panther, Captain Marvel, the Jane Foster Thor, Cyclops, Star-Lord, Peter Parker, and also Miles Morales from the Ultimate Universe, who had snuck on board this ship as a stowaway.
Yeah, it was super cool, man. And Phoenix Cyclops, I remember when we all thought that was going to be a super big deal. Spoilers, it wasn't.
And unlike the rest of the inhabitants of Battleworld, these characters did remember what their lives and what the multiverse was like before Battleworld. So once these characters were able to kind of put everything together and figure out what had happened to them, and that Doctor Doom was actually the one who was responsible for creating this new reality, they then set out on a new mission to raise different armies so they could use these armies to defeat Doctor Doom and then take his power that he stole from the Beyonders and use that power to recreate the multiverse and send everybody home. Because, like I said, the Beyonders were some of the most powerful beings in all of the multiverse, and they had the power to create and destroy realities on a whim.
Yep.
So with the power of the Beyonders, Reed Richards figured that that would be enough to potentially reform the multiverse to at least something close to what it was before the incursions. Yep. So that's what these characters did. And with the help of Doctor Strange, who had actually been living on Battleworld as Doctor Doom's sheriff, each of these characters were sent by Doctor Strange to a different corner of Battleworld where each of them raised an army. And by the time we get to the final 2 issues of Secret Wars, each of these characters
Mariana,
have led
I'll go over that in a
armies
second,
back to
or at
Castle
the end of the
Doom,
stream, but yeah, I saw it for sure.
Where this giant battle takes place with Doctor Doom and his forces trying to protect Castle Doom from this giant army that's made up of pretty much every kind of different multiversal variant you can imagine. Mm-hmm. And it really is one of the coolest, biggest spectacles we've ever seen in all of Marvel Comics.
Yeah, it was sweet. I would also say that the relationship between Doom and Steven is so cool in the book because it's actually not so simple that Steven was just there with Doom being secretly the good guy the whole time. Steven was like, and that's another thing, is like even Reed like respected Victor's ability to save the multiverse and to try to preserve things. And he had done like something really good, but he was also using now the power to be God on a new planet. And so it was one of those things where it's like everybody kind of respected what Doom had done, but like Doom's gonna Doom, and he's just kind of being like a narcissist about this whole thing and not actually doing the best to try to restore the multiverse, instead happy to rule over what was left. So there was some really interesting character stuff between Steven and Doom, because Steven like kind of begrudgingly betrays him and then gets eliminated by Doom and stuff like that. It's pretty wild.
However, there is kind of a twist to why this whole final battle is taking place. Because earlier in the story, Reed Richards figured out that the key to defeating Doctor Doom and getting his power was actually the Molecule Man.
Yup.
And that's because, as a human, Doctor Doom himself was not strong enough to hold and contain the immense power of the Beyonders, because it would have killed him, kind of similar to how the power of the Infinity Stones killed Tony Stark in Avengers Endgame. But the Molecule Man was powerful enough to hold that power because he was less of a human and more of this infinite multiversal being.
Yeah.
So when Doctor Doom defeated the Beyonders, he then funneled their power into Molecule Man, using him almost like this omnipotent battery source.
Yeah, 100%.
And then after this, once he created Battle World, he kept Molecule Man hidden away in this pocket dimension underneath Castle Doom so that he could siphon away any of that Beyonder energy from him whenever he needed it. So then later in the story, when the big final battle is taking place, we see this moment where Black Panther is using an Infinity Gauntlet to face off against cool. Doctor Doom, and then Doctor Doom realizes that this whole final battle is actually meant to be a diversion. And that's because while the final battle is going on in front of the castle, Star-Lord, Reed Richards, and the Maker use this as a moment to sneak around back and find where Molecule Man had been hidden in this little pocket dimension. And so once they find where Molecule Man is at, Reed Richards tries to get Molecule Man to help them so they can use that.
Which is kind of cool, like having both Reeds work together, because that's the Maker, kind of the more evil version from 1610, the Ultimate Universe.
Power to recreate the multiverse. But Molecule Man isn't so sure what he wants to do and if he wants to help Reed Richards. And while they are discussing this, Doctor Doom shows up, and this big fight between Reed and Doctor Doom takes place with Molecule Man basically just watching on with amusement. But then a very pivotal moment occurs where Doctor Doom actually admits that if Reed Richards had been the one who had gotten the power of the Beyonders, that he would have done a better job at saving the multiverse.
Yeah, it's like, it was a really cool moment. And in some ways, this actually goes all the way back to Hickman's early Fantastic Four stuff. It's crazy because it almost plays like one big story from like his Fantastic Four or his FF all the way into the end of Secret Wars. But there comes this moment where they're fighting together and they both admitting stuff to each other in the face of oblivion. And one of the things that Victor admits is that, like, yeah, Reed would have done a better job. And it's like, it harkens back to like one of the first moments between Reed and Victor, where when they were in college together, Victor was creating a machine to go to hell, and he wanted to fight Mephisto to get his mother's soul back. And one day at college, like, Reed Richards sees the machine and gives Victor some advice and is like, oh, I see what you're doing. You should probably fix this. And Victor like refuses just out of ego. And then he goes to hell and the machine malfunctions and he gets a scar that like becomes one of the reasons that he wants to cover up his face. I mean, it's not a huge scar, but like it was enough to like shape Victor Von Doom in a weird way. But it sort of harkens back to like that original thing with them. And yeah, as Culty's about to say, once the Molecule Man sees that, he's like, okay, cool. And then gives all the power to Reed.
And when Molecule Man hears this, he takes that as a sign that he is meant to basically back Reed Richards and help him over Doctor Doom. And at that moment, when he makes this decision, we see this big explosion of light occur. And what exactly happens at this moment is left kind of purposefully vague. But afterwards, we see the story jump forward in time, where we now see Reed Richards finally being reunited with his family. And from there, we see this scene where, with the help of Molecule Man and his infinite multiversal power, Reed Richards and his son Franklin start to recreate the multiverse, with each of them playing a role. And we see Franklin as the one who is imagining.
Which I do want to say, I'm going to jump ahead of some really crazy high-level concepts. And I'll get into that in just a second, Trev. So there's there are a lot of really high concept things happening at the very top of Marvel. And one of them is this concept known as the House of Ideas. And there's a version of Loki out there called God of Stories Loki. And it actually is I put a lot of this stuff into the video that's going to drop, later today. But the House of Ideas is a nickname that Marvel used to have, but it's also a concept within the hierarchy of Marvel that all things that are stories, which most everything is a story, especially if it's in the Marvel universe, all stories come from a thing called the House of Ideas. It is possible for characters at a very high level to actually leave the House of Ideas, or to, I think it's called go outside or whatever, that's to go outside of the omniverse and everything that's out there. And there are these beings known as the ones who sit above in shadow that are like kind of hierarchical gods over everything. It's like really, really crazy stuff. But I bring that up because I wonder if this place on Battleworld is actually the House of Ideas, that somehow what Reed and everything that he's doing here is coming out of the House of Ideas to repopulate the multiverse, because I think this could be where the Maker goes during Ultimate Invasion to create the 6160 universe. Because remember, we went over this a couple of weeks ago, but there's this moment where the Maker and Reed, before he goes away, the Maker, he's like, would you destroy me if you had a chance to, if you could do it all over again? Would you erase me from existence? And Reed says yes. And he says, I'll keep that in mind, and then goes. And then Reed says, like, I know where he's going, but we don't ever get that explained of like, where did the Maker go to make the new Ultimates universe? I kind of think it might be here. I kind of think he might have gone here, and that this could be the House of Ideas. But anyway, Trev says, it's the reverse of Infinity War, where Kang and Doom try to sneak around in the background trying to usurp the Magus. Yeah, and I like that shit where they were like getting the cosmic cubes and all that. It was cool.
These universes, and then they slice off a piece of Molecule Man to exist in each reality, and then Reed Richards takes that baby reality and throws it out into the abyss, where it can grow into a whole new universe. And this is how these three characters create the next iteration of the multiverse, which is known as the Eighth Cosmos.
The Eighth Cosmos, yeah.
And yeah, I mean, that's basically
I wonder how many iterations, because I think at this point, it's obvious that the current MCU and the Sacred Timeline is not the first version of the Cosmos. So I wonder what version of the Cosmos they're going to end up calling, like, the Sacred Timeline, the Infinity Saga, like that version of Marvel.
The 2015 Secret Wars story comes to an end and sets up the all-new, all-different era of Marvel Comics. Now, of course, there's a lot of details I left out, but, you know, that's the overall ending of that story in a nutshell. And oftentimes people refer to this ending as a reboot, but really it was much more of a multiversal reset that served as a very soft reboot for Marvel Comics. Because most of the main continuity of the 616 universe in the comics stayed the same after this, but then all of the other realities in the multiverse were more open to be changed. However, even though Marvel didn't do a hard reboot of the comics to the degree which many fans hoped they would,
right,
there were definitely some big changes that were made for the all-new, all-different era after Secret Wars. For instance, some character histories had been altered going forward, some new characters were introduced altogether, and also many previously dead characters were brought back to life. However, one of the most notable changes after Secret Wars is that certain popular characters that previously existed in alternate universes were then made part of the Prime 616 universe. And the most notable character to cross over into the 616 universe was definitely Miles Morales and his mother, who before Secret Wars were residents of the Ultimate Universe. And this, of course, served as a way for Miles now to interact with characters like Peter Parker and become a member of the Avengers in the Prime Universe continuity.
Yup.
So yeah, I mean, basically what the multiversal reset meant for Marvel Comics is that they could keep story elements they thought were working and change stuff that they thought wasn't. And the reason I go through this whole recap of what happened with the multiversal reset in the comics is because I think that Marvel Studios will use the Secret Wars movie to do something very similar to that, where they will do a soft reboot of the MCU.
Yeah, 100%.
Where they will keep a lot of stuff the same, but they will also get rid or change certain things they feel were mistakes, and that mostly they will use it to recast certain characters with new actors and maybe even bring back some dead characters, and then also change the MCU landscape so they can introduce new major groups like the Inhumans and mutants.
Yeah, 100% that's what's going to happen. I also wonder if they will do more than just a main timeline. I wonder if they'll do the main timeline and also another Ultimates universe, or like an 838 Reborn or something like that. I mean, there's so many different possibilities that they could do. I guess we'll kind of see.
So yeah, on that note, now let's move on and get into some of the details on how Marvel Studios will write this reset into the Secret Wars movie, and also talk about some of this recent news regarding Kevin Feige that sort of, confirms that this is the direction that Marvel Studios is headed.
I don't know what character there was. Ooh, Scarlet Witch. I'm a big fan of the Scarlet Witch.
Now there's an entire chapter devoted to you in the Darkhold. The Scarlet Witch is not born, she is forged. Your power exceeds that of the Sorcerer Supreme. It's your destiny to destroy the world.
Okay, so another reason I wanted to do a video on this topic is because, well, I've always thought that it would make sense for Marvel Studios to use Avengers Secret Wars to do a soft reboot of the MCU.
Yep.
And I've always thought that.
Which, by the way, I'm just like looking at this and noticing it, but it's absolutely the case. I mean, look at this is King Thor, or King Thanos, right? The Thanos that wins. And look at this ride. So you have multiple Captain Americas at the top. You've got, what is this? Captain America with Mjolnir. You've got America Chavez. You've got Captain Britain. You've got Sam Wilson. Bunch of different ones of those. You've got a bunch of different Spider-Man here, or I guess just Tom and the animated one. Different Thors, different Hulks. And I do think that that is something they're going to try to establish. I mean, it's in Avengers Forever. I definitely think it's coming.
Is what they will do. Just recently, we did get some actual news that Kevin Feige is most likely on that same page. And this comes from the new book, The Reign of Marvel Studios, by Joanna Robinson and Dave Gonzalez. And I've ordered this book, and I'm very much looking forward to reading it.
I gotta read this
the
thing.
authors interviewed tons of Marvel Studios employees and insiders, and were on sets of certain movies, and just got a ton of previously unknown inside information on how Marvel Studios functions.
Yeah.
And with this book just now coming out, the authors have been doing the rounds with different podcasts and interviews. And in one of these recent podcast interviews, Joanna Robinson revealed that there was an unused Kevin Feige quote from while they were making the book that said Kevin Feige is planning on using Avengers Secret Wars to serve as a soft reboot of the MCU.
I wonder why they didn't publish the actual quote.
Get rid of what's not working. And
maybe it was like Marvel
working.
being like, oh, we're actually retracting that. You can't use that. But technically they're allowed to say that they have the quote. I don't know. It just seems a little weird, but.
And also use it to bring new elements into the MCU. On that note, now that we've mentioned that and covered how Marvel did their soft reboot with Secret Wars in the comics, now let's discuss the specific details on how exactly Marvel Studios could explain this soft reboot of the MCU with their Secret Wars movie.
Yeah, explain it.
Because I've seen a lot of people discussing the idea that the MCU will get a soft reboot, but I haven't seen anyone talking about how Marvel Studios will make that reboot happen with what happens in the Secret Wars movie and how Secret Wars will end. You
Okay,
know exactly
all right.
how this reboot will be logically explained by the events of that movie.
Pharaoh Towers, definitely not a bad
in the
idea.
last video I did talking about
Hashtag
the
not
Young
financial
Avengers,
advice, but
we talked about some
maybe-
of the rumors
maybe you're onto
that the
something there.
Scarlet Witch will end up being a key part in Kang's bigger plans.
She
to conquer
absolutely
the
will.
multiverse,
She absolutely
and that
will.
Kang
Unfortunately, it seems like it might be a couple of years before we see Wanda again, just given what we know. She's going to be mentioned in Deadpool 3. I even heard she was going to be mentioned in Loki season 2. I don't know if that'll still happen. But yeah, I think she's a big part of this whole thing. But I don't know. Let's just keep going. Let's see what else he has to say, because I also heard some new kind of contradictory stuff about that
may
too.
even somehow manipulate Wanda into working with him. And to me, this would not be at all surprising, considering that in Doctor Strange 2, Wong revealed that the Scarlet Witch is prophesied to either rule or destroy the multiverse.
Ooh.
She can rewrite reality as she chooses, and is prophesied to either rule or annihilate the cosmos.
Plus, in the comics, Scarlet Witch and Wiccan were really the only two characters that Kang truly feared, because they were both Nexus beings who had power that was capable of defeating him. So it would totally make sense that Kang would look to somehow use Wanda to his advantage in the MCU.
That's interesting.
And what we talked about specifically in that last video was how perhaps Marvel Studios could be adapting elements of the Children's Crusade storyline
Yep.
into parts of Phase 6. And one of the key elements to that story is that after the events of House of M, Wanda went missing. And later, when the Young Avengers finally found her, she had no memory of who she truly was and was living in Latveria and engaged to be married to Doctor Doom,
Yeah.
who had found her after House of M as a part of a bigger plan of his.
So hot right now.
And while Doom and Wanda had truly fallen in love, Doctor Doom's plan was still to manipulate Wanda so he could steal her powers to alter reality.
I mean, he's still got to be Doom.
And with
you
all
know?
of these rumors going around about Kang and Wanda
I
potentially
mean, he really loved her. But he also got to be Doom, you know? Doom's going to Doom.
working together in some way in Kang Dynasty or Secret Wars, what I wondered is if Marvel Studios could perhaps be adapting elements of the Doom and Wanda plot from the Crusade storyline into the possible Wanda and Kang plot of Phase 6.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they're working on. I guess they're trying to shoot something Young Avengers next year. They are trying to put some things from Children's Crusade in Agatha Covenant of Chaos. I mean, look, everything I've heard about that, I hate. I think it's gonna really divide audiences, and I don't think it's gonna work. Maybe they have a chance to change some of the stuff, like the kid should not take over a zombie body of another kid. Like it's just too weird, and I don't think it's gonna connect with people. But so they're trying to do that. I think they're going to make Vision Quest essentially the next part of that with the Children's Crusade. And it's really about building up Wiccan and I think bringing back Wanda as well. So look, we'll see how all of that goes. My thing though is like, I don't think Agatha's going to be it. And it will just be a tough pill to swallow if we have a bad start to that. I mean, technically we've already had WandaVision. You've already had Multiverse of Madness. I like both those projects. But man, I just do not think the Agatha show, as it is currently written, is going to be a great sort of start into like, oh, Wiccan and Children's Crusade and all that. We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they'll be able to pull it off. But
because at this point, we don't yet know what exactly happened to Wanda after she brought down the Darkhold Castle at the end of Doctor Strange 2. So I could easily see it playing out to where, because of all the trauma that Wanda has gone through, from the events of Avengers Infinity War to WandaVision to then going full villain in Doctor Strange 2.
Also, this should be obvious, but she destroyed all of the Darkholds, but she destroys the actual temple in Wundagore Mountain because Chthon actually puts all of the stuff on the walls. It's later transcribed from the walls into the Darkhold itself. So the sanctuary itself needed to be destroyed because it had all the same stuff as the Darkhold.
That all of that could cause her to lose her memory and go missing after the Darkhold Castle was brought down, just like what happened to her after the traumatic events of House of M in the comics. Now, there's been reports that the mystery around what happened to Wanda after Doctor Strange 2 could end up being a big plot element in the Agatha show, and that it will somehow be connected to the Witch's Road,
Yes, this
a
is true.
mystical plane of existence that only magic wielders can enter. But if Wanda did in fact lose her memory after the ending of Doctor Strange 2, then it would be much easier for Kang to charm and manipulate her into potentially working on his side. Because at the end of Doctor Strange 2, Wanda was very remorseful for everything she had done. So I do not think that Wanda would agree to help Kang if she knew that he was a villain, and I just don't think that Wanda would agree to be a part of any more villainous activities herself. But if Kang
Wanda
ends
do
up
have curves.
charming
Wanda
Wanda
is
into
big.
helping him, sort of like what he did with Janet early on in Quantumania, then I could totally see Kang manipulating her as a way to use her powers, just like what Doctor Doom did in the comics. Because not only does Wanda have the ability to defeat Kang, she also has the potential power to destroy the multiverse.
True.
And we know that a big part of Kang's plan could be to destroy all of the other timelines except for one that he can then rule over. And we know that Jonathan Hickman's Secret Wars and Incursion saga is pretty much the main influence for the overall bigger narrative.
So, you know what's funny about that is like, yeah, that's a huge part of it, but I would say they're bringing in Avengers Forever, a lot of Jason Aaron Avengers stuff. I think they're bringing in stuff from the Shooter, stuff. They are really grabbing a lot. And I really think God of Stories Loki is a big part of this as well. And some of the stuff that he does could end up showing up here as well. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely adapting a lot of the Hickman stuff. But I think the more we learn about this, the more we're like, it's way more than just the Hickman stuff. You know what I mean? It's a lot of stuff. Strange has photo memory, Darkhold in his brain. That is true.
Of the multiverse saga.
That's true.
And something we've talked about in past videos is how a lot of Doctor Doom's story arc in Hickman's Incursion saga looks like it is being adapted into Kang's role for the multiverse saga in the MCU. And what all of this makes me wonder is if Wanda's role in the multiverse saga might be taking a lot of influence from Molecule Man's role in the Incursion saga, similar to how Marvel Studios look to be adapting parts of Doctor Doom's story into Kang's story for the MCU.
Maybe. I think there are 3 candidates for who's going to be maybe replacing Owen Reese in this story. And one is Wanda, one is Doctor Strange, but the other one is Loki.
Now, Molecule Man being a big influence over Wanda's story arc in the multiverse saga might sound kind of weird until you start to think about it and break it down. Because in Hickman's Incursion saga, Molecule Man was the key to Doctor Doom's entire plan. He was the key to finding who was behind the incursions, he was the key to stealing the Beyonders' powers and creating Battleworld, and he was the key to Doctor Doom ruling what was left of the multiverse in Battleworld afterwards. And like we were talking about how during the Avengers Crusade story, how Wanda was under Doctor Doom's influence, that was a very similar thing that was happening with Molecule Man throughout the Incursion saga, where Molecule Man was basically under Doctor Doom's influence as well, and was just going along with him up until the end of the Secret Wars story. And I could definitely see Wanda potentially having a similar story arc to that in the MCU and in the Multiverse saga, where she could have a very similar role in Kang's overall story and be a key element to Kang's bigger plans. And in the MCU...
So I totally love this kind of stuff, and I think that a lot of this could be in play, but I will also tell you there's a strong possibility here that they're going to simplify this stuff so much, and that as opposed to who is a representative of this facet of reality, it may just end up being who are going to be these uber powerful heroes that will help to be able to defeat Kang as the Beyonder. Because one of the things we have to consider here is like, if Kang really is the Beyonder, bro, that is one of the most OP things we've ever considered. But you know who's more OP than Kang as the Beyonder? God of Stories Loki. 100%. So it could just be the case that Wanda is definitely important, definitely somebody that Kang fears, and someone that will be able to tap into an incredible amount of power. Maybe that's the same thing with Loki. Maybe that's the same thing with Steven. We'll see.
The Scarlet Witch has been referred to as one of the most powerful beings in the multiverse, who is even prophesied to rule the multiverse. And in the comics, Molecule Man has also been referred to as one of the most powerful beings in the multiverse. And like Wanda, he also has power to manipulate reality.
Mm-hmm.
And like I mentioned earlier, in Hickman's Time Runs Out story, Molecule Man was the key to Doctor Doom being able to steal the power of the Beyonders so he could become a god and rule over Battleworld by siphoning off that energy from him. And for a while now, there's been rumors that the main villain of the Avengers Secret Wars movie is going to be a Kang variant version of the Beyonder.
Yes, this is the current
plan. Now, of course,
plan.
this isn't confirmed, but if this is true, then perhaps in the MCU, instead of Kang getting godlike powers by stealing them from the Beyonders, perhaps he will instead get godlike abilities by siphoning the powers away from the Scarlet Witch. Because with the powers of the Scarlet Witch, Kang would presumably be able to reshape reality and rule over the multiverse. And I mean, maybe the whole prophecy that Wong mentioned in Doctor Strange 2 will actually end up referring to Kang after he steals the power of the Scarlet Witch and him being the one to temporarily rule over the multiverse.
That could be interesting.
And this whole possibility of, things kind of tying into that whole Beyonder narrative in the MCU is something I would actually like to talk about in one of the next videos, because there's some other stuff that's been happening in Loki Season 2 that I would like to kind of tie into that. So yeah, I am going to save some stuff on that particular topic for one of the next videos. But going back to the Scarlet Witch and her whole role in potentially, resetting the multiverse and being the big hero in Avengers Secret Wars, like I said earlier, after all of the horrible stuff that Wanda did in both WandaVision and Doctor Strange 2, for her to ever be considered a hero again, she is in need of a major, major redemption arc.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And if Kang were to somehow siphon off and use Wanda's powers, then I would definitely expect that at some point, Wanda will wake up or snap out of whatever's happening to her and have a return to form, if you will, and take her powers back. And if that happened, then that could possibly set up Wanda to be the biggest hero of the Secret Wars movie.
I think she'll definitely
do
some crazy damage in the Secret Wars movie.
Not only could Wanda then potentially be the one to defeat Kang, she's also likely the only character that would have the power and ability to then restore reality and the multiverse to something close to what...
I would just say don't sleep on Loki. That's all I'll say.
It was before. And that would be the ultimate act of redemption for her character, to recreate the multiverse or recreate reality so everybody could be saved. I mean, that would be like the biggest act of redemption her character could have. So maybe towards the end of the Secret Wars movie, after the heroes have prevailed, maybe Wanda could perhaps be the one who will recreate the cosmos. Because for Secret Wars to happen in the MCU, I would imagine that beforehand, the multiverse will likely have to be destroyed by the incursions, only leaving Battleworld, somewhat similar to what happened in the comics. And it might not be exactly the same thing, but I imagine that the multiverse is going to take a big hit for the Secret Wars movie to occur at all.
Oh, yeah.
So if something like that does happen, then once we get to the end of the Secret Wars movie, the multiverse will likely have to somehow be recreated so that the MCU can continue with new stories and new movies.
Mm-hmm.
And out of all the known characters that currently exist in the MCU, I think that the Scarlet Witch is the character that makes the most sense to be the one who could do that. However,
for now.
Another comic that Marvel Studios could take a lot of influence from, with the Scarlet Witch being involved in a big reset like this, is also the House of M storyline, where we saw Wanda recreate reality to make a world where...
Yeah, we're watching this whole thing, Mo. It's a 44-minute video with split-up commentary. I'm having a good time. Wait, are you guys not having a good time? Are you guys rioting in Nerdventure Tower? What's happening right now? I thought we were having a good Monday.
Mutants were the dominant force in the world instead of humans. And I say that because one of the biggest things I think that Marvel Studios will likely do with their soft reboot of the MCU is that they will use this multiversal reset to introduce
they want Warhammer stuff? Oh,
dude,
guys. Whoa. Okay. Audible at the line. It's Warhammer time. It's Warhammer time. What do you guys want to do? Because, dude, I've actually always wanted to do this. There are 4-hour-long videos about the Emperor that Luden has done. Guys, are you ready? Because I'll do 5 straight hours of talking about the Emperor, if that's what you guys want to do. Should we put it to a vote?
Of mutants into the MCU that more closely match the amount of mutants that exist in the comics. So I think what we'll probably see with the ending of the Secret Wars movie is a sort of open-ended ending where it leaves Marvel Studios with a lot of options for what the Prime universe will look like afterwards, so that they can use it to introduce a bunch of new elements and also change some of the continuity of the MCU, but then also keep a lot of elements the same so it's not this super radical change. And if I am wrong about the Scarlet Witch being the character that will be heavily involved with this big multiversal reset in the MCU, I do still think that this overall idea of recreating the multiverse at the end of Secret Wars is almost certainly what Marvel Studios are going to do, and how they will kind of set up this soft reboot of the MCU going forward into Phase 7.
Yeah, I think it's obvious that, currently, given what we know, she's a great candidate for that.
Wait to see it. I'm going to end it with this. Phase 10, is that going to be Phase X? Is that one we're finally going to hear?
You want to wait till Phase 10 for the X-Men? That's longer than I want to wait, but...
Now, as far as what could change in the MCU after Secret Wars as we get into Phase 7, it's kind of tricky to say for sure. But there have been rumors that the next MCU saga after the multiverse saga is going to be the Mutant Saga.
Yeah.
Now, who knows if
it might not be called the Mutant Saga. It might actually be called the Eternity Saga. But I think the whole focus of the saga is really going to be about the X-Men and the mutants.
Actually be called this or not. But something like this definitely does seem possible, considering that there's enough mutant stories in the comics that Marvel Studios could easily construct an entire saga around mutants and the X-Men.
Yep.
So I do think that at the very least, that it's very, very likely that Phase 7 will largely revolve around the introduction of mutants into the MCU 616 universe, or, the Prime universe, whatever they call it at that point.
I wonder what they will call it.
And that the formation of the new X-Men team will be the center of Phase 7, similar to how the Avengers movies were the center of the phases in the Infinity Saga.
Exactly.
But besides the introduction of mutants, I think another big thing that Marvel Studios will do with the reset is they will use it to recast certain big characters, like, of course, T'Challa, as well as possibly some of the original Avengers characters, like Tony Stark and Steve Rogers. Because at this point, those characters have basically become so popular and valuable to Disney that they've kind of become like Batman and Superman, where it's very easy to see Marvel Studios just...
And I think it's going to kind of be up to Robert Downey Jr., right? It's going to be up to him, because I think they want him to come back. And as I've said before, I think they would tell an additional 10 years of stories with him. But it's just kind of depend on what he wants to do. I think they can recast Tony. But I don't think they want to. I don't really want them to either. I'd love to see RDJ with the actual X-Men, with the actual Fantastic Four. I would love to see that. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think he's got a couple of years to make up his mind.
Casting those characters with new actors so they can continue on making money off of those characters. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if instead of recasting certain characters, if Marvel Studios will see if they can actually get certain actors to come back.
Oh, they definitely going to try.
The big one that I could definitely see Disney trying to get to return is definitely Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark.
Of course.
Because Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark is the foundation of the MCU. If it weren't for Robert Downey Jr. playing Tony Stark in the first Iron Man movie,
maybe the greatest casting of all time, which I think Christopher Nolan agreed on as well. Possibly the greatest casting decision of all time. Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. Crazy.
Might not have an MCU at all. And Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man is easily the biggest and most popular character that Marvel Studios have ever had. So even though Robert Downey Jr. is getting a bit older and he would have to play an older version of Tony Stark, if the two sides could come to terms over a contract that worked for them both, then I could actually see something like this happening. And we know
it's fascinating to consider that because, like, so do you guys know the story of why Tony Stark or RDJ got paid absurd amounts of money for his role? Do you guys know the backstory behind that? So basically, Robert Downey Jr. was coming out of a very crazy, controversial, canceling type thing, right? Just into a lot of problems, would wake up in other people's houses and shit, like was just out of control, right? I don't know, probably not quite as bad as like Ezra Miller type stuff, but like close. It was like bad. A lot of people weren't fucking with him. So then he kind of starts making a comeback. He did a movie, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, which is why he's so affectionate towards Mel Gibson, because this was a role that was written for Mel Gibson that he handed to Robert to try to rehabilitate his image. That's like a whole nother thing. But the studios did not want Robert Downey Jr. For, number one, they thought he was too old. Number two, they were like, he's way too risky. So in order to mitigate this, he struck a deal on the first Iron Man for not a lot of upfront money and ended up getting massive back-end points. And he didn't have a long-term deal. It was just for the one film. So after Iron Man became absurdly successful and he made so much money on his back-end points, in order to get him to sign a long-term contract, they had to pay him a shit ton of money. So it was because of what they did with the first Iron Man that then he's able to leverage that into massive paydays for each and every single one of his appearances. Crazy.
That Robert Downey Jr. is likely going to return as a variant of Tony Stark for Avengers Secret Wars. So that would seem like the perfect opportunity for Marvel Studios and Disney to approach him with a new contract negotiation to see if he might be interested in returning for some other projects and movies after that. Now, again, of course, this is definitely a long shot. But at the same time, in the same breath, I would not underestimate just how valuable Robert Downey Jr. is to Disney in the role of...
I got to be honest with you, given where things are at, and it's hard to say exactly because this is going to be kind of a Disney decision because it's so much money. But I would argue if I was over there, I'd be like, he's worth at least what we were paying him before, if not more. Just look at the box office, look at the how things were received, and look at where we're at now. I would say he is worth that 40, 50, 60 million, depending on how big the movie is. He is literally worth that. But in order to justify it, I think you have to also come up with some brilliant stories and involve that character in a really interesting way. Like you can't just throw Robert Downey Jr. in, but if you back it up with a compelling story, he is going to give you fucking gold, right? So It would be very
Tony
expensive,
Stark.
though.
I mean, he would make them a ton of money if he returned. So even though it does seem like a long shot, I would not put it past them to at least try to get him back into the fold at Marvel Studios. And it might seem kind of weird that the MCU could have certain characters recast while certain other characters remain the same with the same actors. But I think how Marvel Studios could potentially go about explaining something like this is that they could always say that when the multiverse was reset or recreated at the end of Secret Wars, that maybe multiple universes get merged together into one universe for the new Prime Universe of the MCU, and that's why some things are the same, but certain other elements are different, like the existence of mutants.
Okay, I'm going to do just a little bit of a tease for the video I'm doing later about Loki. One of the things that God of Stories Loki was able to do was he was able to petrify moments in time and save them so that when a new universe happened, after the cosmos was destroyed and a new universe was happened, Loki, God of Stories, was able to take these petrified moments in time and stick them back into the timeline. So certain things, like what did they call it in Doctor Strange, a fixed moment in time, certain things were preserved for the new universe. And right now, I'm reading through that timeline book that Marvel Studios officially put out. And it's really interesting because they frame that via the TVA. The TVA explains some of the differences and lines everything up. I wouldn't be surprised if in the new Earth, new universe, they would end up having a new book that will explain like what moments from the past still happened in the new universe. So, and who knows, maybe this will be something Loki does, maybe this will be something the TVA does. But I think that could be a very important functional part of setting up the new universe. Is like, this still happened. This still happened. Oh, this definitely still happened. And so that way you hold on to some of the Infinity Saga, at least, some of those events and things, but you can introduce new things, change things, put new characters into them. But that's just kind of an early prediction I have for how they're going to make that make sense.
So yeah, depending on how they explain the reset of the universe and the multiverse at the end of Secret Wars will depend on how exactly they explain all the differences and changes in the MCU afterwards. But anyways,
one more thing I want to point out. On the cover of that book that explained the timelines, originally Wanda was on that cover. They replaced her with Sylvie and Loki. Okay, let's keep going.
I think we can call it for the main part of today's video because it's been a lot of stuff to talk about and a lot of stuff to process and a lot of really nerdy explanations for how things could be broken down and recreated and all the multiverse talk. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Please leave a like if you did, subscribe if you're new.
Okay, well, let's stop there. I mean, he's going to go on to do a bunch of the super thanks that he gets. It's sort of like a Q&A thing. So if you're interested, go watch the video for that. And I recommend checking out the other videos that Culty has done. I think he does great work. Very deep, nerdy stuff. But if you're like me, you like this kind of stuff, he does some great stuff. Apparently, there's a new Loki trailer, you guys are telling me? That's cool, man. I'd be down to watch some Loki. Where's the new trailer at? Is it on Twitter? Is it on the tweeters? So go check out Culty stuff, man. Give him a like. Give him a subscribe. Okay. Oh, no. Apparently it might spoil something. Uh-oh. This better not ruin my whole video. Ooh, here we go.
Do you know? Let's assume I don't know much, but I'm a fast learner, and I'm a good...
Oh, boy. Should we watch it? Should we watch it? Better not spoil my whole fucking video. Here we go.
Loki, how much do you know? Let's assume I don't know much, but I'm a fast learner, and I'm a god.
Well, let's start at the beginning.
Here we go. All of existence is in grave danger. The TVA is gone.
I think you mean ATV, and no, we got in 2 of them last week.
I need everyone to help us fix it.
Oh, it's a party.
Loki, if you're too late, you will be lost to time forever. and Mobius will lose all of his skin.
Here we go. Listen to me carefully. Hit the green button. It can be a little sticky.
Don't overthink it. So it's now or never.
There's something you have to see.
Loki, you are getting desperate.
You're a silly little man! I lost it. One time, we held the whole of New York City hostage with an alien army. It happens.
That was pretty dope. I'll be honest, that was a pretty dope trailer. Let's watch it again.
Loki, how much do you know?
Let's assume I don't know much, but I'm a fast learner.
Okay, so it's some kind of a loop. He's back to earlier moments in time. So a lot of us thought this was probably going to be the way that it went down. But yeah, there's going to be some kind of a loop situation.
I'm a god.
Well, let's start at the beginning.
Here we go.
He's coordinating everything now due to the knowledge that he's had before, which, by the way, we could have kind of put this together before based on this shot. It was actually in earlier trailers as well. Some of the backstory for some of these people. Who knows exactly, but it's possible that he's going back to the very first time that they were recruited into the TVA.
Is in grave danger.
So he's time slipping again, this time to where they are all at. Okay, so interesting, right?
The TVA is gone.
I think you mean ATV, and no, we got in 2 of them last week.
This is him back as the prisoner, right? Something about the loop.
I need everyone to help us fix it.
Oh, it's a party.
And we knew we were going to get more Victor time.
Loki, if you're too late.
He's watching himself in the other loop here. Wild.
You will be lost to time.
So he's going to be time slipping again. This is crazy.
Forever. And Mobius will lose all of his skin.
Here we go.
Listen to me carefully. Hit the green button. It can be a little sticky.
Ooh, that's a clue. I'm not saying shit, but...
Don't overthink it. So it's now or never.
Interesting. Interesting.
There's something you have to see.
Loki, you are getting desperate.
You're a silly little man! I lost it. One time, we held the whole of New York City hostage with an alien army. It happens.
Cool. That's a good trailer. I hope that trailer generates some buzz and some excitement. You know, like I'm really enjoying Loki season 2, but it is not getting the numbers and the buzz that it was getting before. I think, I mean, that speaks more to like just what's going on with Marvel and the kind of current MCU fatigue. But, you know, nonetheless, I think that it's possible, like we've seen via, you know, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, that if it feels like it matters, if it feels like it's well crafted, people will still show up. So I would love to see the final 2 episodes be very crazy, garner some views, and maybe, you know, and get up on the charts as people maybe get in and binge the series to like catch up to the finale or something like that. So that would be cool. But yeah, that was a fire trailer. I don't think they give much away for the finale. They may have just given a bunch away for episode 5. But yeah, thought that was cool. Rosie says, who the F is God of Stories Loki? Well, you can look him up. He's from Loki, Agents of Asgard, big comic book run. But I will talk about that in the video that I'm going to drop later today. It'll probably drop in the next couple of hours. I think Fernie's working on it right now. I'll put some polishing on it later, and then we'll go from there. So, Yeah, I think that's all that I wanted to kind of watch and react to. Really cool trailer, I think. So that was sweet. I'm excited. Let's see what else we got here. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it, guys. So I guess we could kind of get into Q&A a little bit, although I did go over a lot of the Super Chats and stuff from before. So, maybe I don't have to go all the way back over everything here. But, yeah, we can get over. So I know Mariana had a question about Gina. I'll talk about that. I talked a little bit about it on the Discord already, but yeah, I'll talk about it. Hey, Josh, what do you think about the Eternal Celestials' role in the reboot, if they even have one? Is there still a sequel coming? And Blade. I mean, it's kind of hard to say. A lot of this stuff is in flux, but I will say that there was supposed to be a movie about the Celestials, and maybe that's what Eternity War was going to be as well. It's kind of this was like a rumor from a long time ago. Yeah, I don't know. It's I don't know exactly, but I do think the Celestials, so one thing that's kind of in the timeline book is that the Celestials definitely created the MCU, which I think we already knew from Eternals, but they really doubled down on it in the new book, where they're like, yeah, no, the Celestials predate the current cosmos and are pretty much the ones that created the cosmos. So I think Celestials may even replace some of the Beyonder stuff. But I guess we're just going to see. We'll see how that all plays together. And, yes, Queen. Let me see what else we got going on here. Let's see here. Okay. So Gina's tweet about KK Lucasfilm and Disney. She held no bars back and she revealed a lot. Thoughts? Yeah. So here's a couple of different things. I'll give you the TLDR version of this, and also you have to understand, Mariana, I'm a gigantic shill now, so there's only so much I can say because I'm trying to get the big Disney checks and be a total shill. So I can't go crazy on it. But I'll say this: I think that Gina is right about a lot of what she said. But I think framing and perspective is important here, because while I do think it's super fucked up, a lot of the stuff that they did to her, I don't think it's that different than the way a lot of Hollywood studios move and what's expected of people when you're quote unquote playing the game. So for instance, she is describing some stuff that you could, if you were being charitable, just call public relations. I mean, she was literally in contact with the PR people, and they were trying to coach her into trying to handle from their perspective what was a massive controversy. Again, I think they fucked up. I think Kathy fucked up by firing her and making it worse. And so it's part of this is because they just didn't make it work with her. They've created the now nightmare scenario where Gina's out there putting dirty laundry out. And that I love in moments like this to bring up the example of Kevin Feige and how he does this, because with both of he had two actresses that had similar situations, not maybe as big but similar, with Letitia and Wasp. Why am I blanking on the lady that plays Wasp? Where they had both gotten into some controversies because of speaking about their personal opinions, maybe you could say political beliefs. Feige's policy on it is so much better. He just tries to kind of ignore it, work it out in the press, and then he was asked about it one time about their comments, and he said, I'm numb to it. I'm numb to it all on social media. Whether it's political, this, that, second, and the third, I'm just numb to it. And then he just speaks that he loves Letitia, and he speaks that he loves his people. So, whatever he says behind doors is kind of separate from how he presents himself publicly. And I think that Marvel Studios, other than even the James Gunn situation was weird, because I felt like Disney freaked out. And then Kevin Feige kind of allowed them to walk that back with James Gunn. I think ultimately it's in the best interest of all parties to mitigate it behind the scenes and just allow people to keep it moving. Because Evangeline Lilly, that's her name, right? Look, there's a whole bunch of people now that are going to say whatever about Evangeline Lilly online. There's a whole bunch of people that'll say whatever about Letitia, but at the end of the day, you know, they're still going to make their movies and do their stuff, and they didn't make it worse. I think ultimately, like, here's what I've always said about Gina. I don't think Gina's this horrible person. I don't think what she was doing was bad. I know a lot of people are like, oh, she's horrible. She's saying all this horrible shit. I don't think so. I would just call her tactless. Like, she just didn't have a concept of, in my opinion, like tact or trying to be, I guess, she was a little too flagrant with what she said. But I would argue that during that time period, like around the pandemic and everything, like there were so many people with flagrant opinions, and everything was so divisive. So I think the ultimate strategy from Lucasfilm and what they should have done was to mitigate it and handle it behind the scenes, and they should not have fired her. By firing her in the way that they did, they made it way worse. So do I think what Gina's talking about is true? Yeah. Do I also think she's saying it all in a way to make it seem way more ridiculous than it is? Yeah. I mean, that's just PR. That's Hollywood. Like, dude, come on, man. Like, if you're working for a studio, you sign that contract, it's just like every other job in existence. You literally forfeit some of your anonymity, some of your freedom to be able to work at this institution. It's like you can't just pop off at the mouth about any particular thing, depending on the job. So that's the fence-sitting, shill positive response from me about the Gina situation. There you go. You guys are getting fed with controversial takes from me on multiple things today. Multiple things. And also, let's do a trigger check. How many of you just got triggered by what I said? Put a 1 into the chat. It's okay to admit it, that you're triggered as fuck right now. Put it into the chat. It's okay. Let it out. It's good for you to let it out. Yeah, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay, Big Paws. TJ, you're going to be okay. Captain, you're going to be okay. Jared Lovebetter, you're going to be okay. Block them all. Say it again. I missed it. Well, now I'm triggered, bro. Sheesh. Now I'm triggered. Now you got me triggered. Now you got me triggered, bro. Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay, well, guys, I think I went over all of the super chats other than that one. So I think I'm probably going to get out of here pretty soon. I appreciate you guys being here, though. I hope you had a good time. I also kind of wanted, I said this before, but like my voice is still not 100% back. So I'm trying to save the voice a little bit. So that's partially why we reacted to the Culty video as well. And hopefully be feeling better tomorrow. Again, if you are a Nerd Venger, tomorrow at 11 a.m., I'm coming to you in my costume. We're going to have a costume party. Elisa, Liam, and myself have a family-themed costume. So we'll show you guys that tomorrow on the Nerd Venger stream. We'll talk a little bit more about just fun stuff, man. Maybe we'll have like a spooky theme stream tomorrow. That'll be really cool. So I'll see you guys there tomorrow at 11. Wednesday, we'll be going. I don't know what we'll do Wednesday, but we'll do something super fun. Thursday's going to be crazy. I'm going to see the Marvels. Can't wait to hang out with the girls, you know, for an hour. Like, I'm so excited to hang out with the girls. You know, I mean, I'm just trying to hang out with the girls. So we'll see the Marvels. I'll talk about it. I'll probably make like a video reacting to it that night. Then we have episode 5 of Loki. And we have episode 1 of Invincible, which, by the way, none of you have done a great job telling me when the fucking when does Invincible drop? Oh wait, the Marvels is next week? Oh, that's the finale. So Invincible is this week or next week? Wait, now I'm all discombobulated. Oh fuck, dude, we told the babysitter to come this Thursday. Are you telling me it's next week? No! go. Invincible this week. The Marvels is next week. Shit. The season finale of Gem V. Stop cursing, Josh. I'm fucking sorry. Gen V is fire? I mean, I guess. I think Gen V is cringe. Stupid. Adolescent. Gen V. More like lame V. Wait. Ultimate Universe #1 comes out this week? That's cool. More like lame V. Well, don't feel left out when it connects to The Boys season 5. So you think it's going to be my fault if I start up The Boys next season and I'm lost because of a spin-off show? You think that's on me, Kendall? You think that's on me? Nope. Then I get the shit on Gen V and I get the shit on The Boys. I'll be like, oh, look at this dumbass show. Decided to put important plot points on a spinoff that hardly anybody watched. Good job, Seth Rogen. Dumbass curly-haired fuck. Bitch boy. Sorry, I went a little too hard there on Seth No Nutsack Rogen. He used to be cool. You know what I mean? Sorry. All right, everybody. Much love to you all. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate you being here. Yeah, he caught some strays. Rogan caught some strays. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Seth. All right, everybody. Much love to y'all. Appreciate you. Much love. As I always say, I hope you are having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video. Is everybody gone? Did everybody leave? That was a good one, man. That was kind of nice, you know. Kick it or watch Culty, you know. Give a little feedback here and there, you know. Basically ignore that Kendall's been talking about this for months. You know, it was pretty nice. It was pretty chill. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you being here. Appreciate your attention, your time, the likes, the subscribes. What's Andre complaining about in chat? What the fuck? What's he do? What did he do? What did Andre? What's going on here? What's going on with Andre? I don't even understand. Can't believe the Marvels is next week. We gotta switch it up with the babysitter now. Jeez, guys, that's on you. You know, I'm not trying to be rude, but that's on you. So, you know, figure it out, please. All right, I gotta go rest my throat. Remember to open up your third eye and wash out your stinky butt. A 30-month membership? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to miss it. What did you say? Hang on. I'm late AF. What's up, y'all amazing people? Hey, Bubba J. I see you get every day more hyped and closer to say Dr. Doom is 100% fact, right? Take my money. I'd love to... I hope so, man. We'll see. I got nothing for you. Nothing for you but... love. What's up, baby bird? What's going on here? You guys you're ruining this. I'm supposed to be gone. I'm supposed to be gone. What the hell? You guys are killing me. I'm supposed to be out of here. All right, see you later.